let's talk about this A-B set. So we start off with passage A saying, we're now understanding that the brain is a machine and you are your brain, and therefore you are bound to the machine and you're not responsible for your actions, even though you may think you are. And this has an outcome. It means we should change the way we handle punishment. We should prevent future harm, but there's no point in just punishing someone for their evil doing, because they're just slaves to the machine of their brain. So passage A mounts this argument about punishment. Passage B just says, you know what? Maybe there is free will. I mean, what's his face? And by what's his face, I mean Alfred J. Ayer. What's his face says there's a soft determinism. And I put my brackets around line 50. It's not the existence of a cause, but the source of that cause. So even if your behavior is caused by the machine of your brain, if it's caused internally, we can still say you have free will. It's only determined if it is constrained externally. This sounds like something Sartre said, that, you know, we are as free, essentially, we are as free as we feel like we are. And evidently also something David Hume believed. So, before we get down that rabbit hole, let's answer some questions. 17, both of them are concerned with answering, well, what is the role of biomechanics in free will, right? What does the brain have to say about how we make our choices? Answer choice B mines that exactly. For 18, something that is in B. Oh man, the first time I went through this, I had D like circled, and I had the line reference there. You know, like self-delusion is totally in A; it's nowhere in B. And realized that was not the question I had been asked. So something that is in passage B, and in like line 39. Unless you're suffering from a disorder. She mentions it again in line 55, a disease-free brain. That idea of mental illness factors in passage B and is nowhere evident in passage A. All right, so 19, why do you mention David Hume? Same reason you ever bring up any expert ever, in order to add some credibility to your argument. Is it a successful technique? No, but that's why you do it. You know, you don't say, for example, my ice cream vendor says, unless you're talking about ice cream. I mean, if you're talking about brain chemistry, you probably don't say my ice cream vendor thinks that there's such a thing as soft determinism. If you're talking about whether Rocky Road is superior to mint chip, then you might bring in the views of your ice cream vendor. And the whole point always is to add support to your argument, right? I mean, that's why you would do such a thing. That's answer choice B, and that's why that's the right answer there. For number 20, okay, so as always, right, not looking at answer choices, and I check out the passages and I'm like, what the fuck? Passage B is not more passage B is less attitude. I think, okay, wait, if I'm going to answer this though, passage B is more like detached. And then holy fucking shit, look at answer choice C! And this is why you always, cover those answers before you look at answer choices. Because passage A is mounting that argument, making claim. She believes something and she's putting forth evidence in favor of an idea. Passage B just isn't doing that. Passage B is evaluating the claims of Alfred J. Ayers. And that's what detachment looks like. More neutrality. She's farther removed from her subject. Finally, then, 21, something that's analogous to what we did in passage A, and this was the least fun question for sure. But again, let's start with what we know. In passage A, how did that argument go? It said we have a fundamental misapprehension about the function of the brain. We are mistaken. Even when we think we're operating under free will, we're not really. We may be operating under the auspices of our emotional centers instead of our tactical, rational centers. We are operating under a misapprehension. Therefore, we need to change the way we behave in regard to that concept. I need something else that says we have been doing something based on a misunderstanding, so we need to change the way we do that thing. Right? There's the central, that's the nut. That's the meat. It's the core of the thing. That's what we need. Answer choice C is the only one that gives us the idea that we are basing some kind of policy decision on a mistaken notion. Therefore, we need to change the way we enact that policy. And in that way, it is precisely parallel to the argument in passage A, and that's why C is the right answer. That finishes up this passage.
All right, so in that video I showed you why all the right answers are right. I didn't show you how I read the passage. How I read the passage in such a way that I can anticipate most of the questions I'm going to be asked and the right answers to those questions. I didn't show you how I select which passage to do. I didn't give you a method of dealing with reading comp. That's because I think that's where the value's at. Now, if you agree with me that having a methodological, systematic means of kicking the LSAT where it counts is worth paying for, then check out that link and you can see a list of our current course offerings and prices. And if you don't, that's cool too. Keep making as best use you can of these free videos and tell all your friends how awesome we are. Although if you thought that was awesome, wait till you see what's in the paid courses.